It's simple for me. You're smart. You're scrappy. You're a go-getter. You don't wait for things to happen. You make them happen. HHM is growing again and could use someone like you. I could use you. Charlie Hustle.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and discussing Season 5, Episode 4 of Better Call Saul, giving my review and recap. That being said, warning, spoilers, and let's jump right into it. So the teaser shows Jimmy picking out bowling balls. We don't know what he's doing yet, so the whole time we're trying to figure it out. What is he looking for? Something he can throw? Granted, it was interesting the first time, but it almost has no replay value and it kind of feels like a waste of time. If there's anything that I could be considered filler this season, it's the amount of time that we see Jimmy picking out the different items until he finally finds the bowling balls. And I love how that when he goes to buy the bowling balls, he offers a deal for 3 and then the chick has to wait a minute to sell them as if the bowling balls are in high demand. Might just be a coincidence, but it's also notable that the bells that ring as he enters and leaves the store reminds me a lot of Hector's bell. The next morning, as Jimmy and Kim leave at the apartments, Jimmy tells her that he's finally going to see Howard for lunch. Kim tells him that she's messed up yesterday, but today she's going to fix it. But she keeps it extremely vague and he doesn't even try to get her to elaborate. Note how when they walk out, Jimmy tells her to not worry about the broken glass from the bottles from the night before, but then after he leaves, Kim is late for work because she decides to sweep it up after all, really showing her character. Jimmy will just leave a big mess behind him and act like it's not his problem, but Kim always has to clean up her own mess.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Building will take care of it. That's what you pay rent for. See ya.
Great. I'll walk you through what I need when I get in. It should be there in 20. I'll see you when I get there.
Saul gets the 50% off skids as his clients, bringing the 50% off situation full circle and kind of concluding it. Saul's normal rate is $4,000 per client, which means that it would be $8,000 for both of them, but he does give them a 50% off deal, meaning $4,000 for both. They still think that that's not good enough, but he intimidates them into sticking with him. Check out my Saul Meets Lala video for a comparison on his rates with the normal clients compared to the cartel. And then the whole Howard and Saul situation. I was waiting a while for this scene and it did not disappoint. I loved about every little piece of dialogue, and I loved the whole journey of just wondering what Howard wanted, why he's so interested in Saul Goodman, and hearing Jimmy's reaction to everything, including the job offer, which Howard tells him that he doesn't need to answer, but we kind of get an answer to it later in the episode. Does Howard need him for the M part of HHM? Does he genuinely just want to make amends? Does he care about Jimmy, or does he have an ulterior motive? And is HHM actually doing really good, or is he lying about that, and does he actually secretly need Jimmy? From Howard calling him Charlie Hustle to Jimmy not really caring, even saying like, oh yeah, my friends call me Jimmy, but you can too. Sort of a low blow. It's just amazing. I love every bit of it. I'm going to keep it brief in this video because I do have a huge Howard video prepared for the second that Season 5 finishes, and I know if I talk about one thing, I'm gonna jump into everything, but what I will say is just a vague generalization that I love Howard's arc this season and how it relates to Jimmy. There's so many different complex reasons and perspectives for the interactions between both of these characters this season. It's also interesting that the Sandpiper settlement money has not come up whatsoever this season. We originally speculated that that was going to be the reason why they were meeting, and it's just not the case at all. Again, we also speculated that it was because he wanted to offer Jimmy a job, or that it had to do with Chuck or the McGill name, so we got that part right, but what's the deal with the Sandpiper settlement money? Are we going to get that at all? And speaking of that, I already have a few Howard meets Saul discussion videos up on the channel for Season 5 if you haven't already checked them out, or if you thought you did check them out but ended up watching someone else's video because someone actually stole my thumbnail.
I mean, don't worry about it. That's ancient history.
I'll put the link to that video right here, but let's move on. It's also worth mentioning that the license plate that Howard has says Namaste on it, which is the name of the episode. Howard was also featured in that extra Kim YouTube video series, and he says Namaste there as well. It was pretty hilarious.
Remember, no case is worth sacrificing your mental and physical health.
Thank you, Howard.
Namaste.
Okay, that's it for today.
Meanwhile, at Mesa Verde, Kim tries convincing Kevin to change the lot that he wants to build his call center on, but he stubbornly disagrees, and Paige goes along with it. Unable to get her own way, which is just, the straight and honest way, she decides that she's going to use any means necessary to get what she wants. This means turning to Saul. We see her walking into a courtroom where Saul is currently working, and she waits for him to be finished in order to ask for his help. He didn't manipulate her here. He didn't convince her of anything. She came to him on his own. And what was perfect as well is that she walks in on him pulling a Saul Goodman con in court, revealing a random member of the audience to be an important part of a trial, a trick that he's done multiple times now. The importance of Kim seeing this is because as she's going to ask him for help, she sees the man that she's getting involved with. She knows exactly what she's getting into. Meanwhile, Mike tries to visit Kaylee and Stacy, but Stacy gives us the exposition that apparently Mike wasn't answering his phone and this is just him randomly showing up, so she got a different babysitter for the day. She can tell that something's off with him or that he needs to deal with something personally, and she doesn't want him taking that out on her family again. Mike doesn't want to admit this or even acknowledge it, but he knows it's the truth, so he walks away. We know that he still has a standing relationship with them in Breaking Bad, but he'll have to go through a journey within the next few episodes to be able to truly apologize to them. Moving on, let's discuss Hank and Gomez busting Gus's dead drops. Due to Lalo setting up Gus's dead drops with the help of Crazy 8 and Saul, Hank and Gomez successfully bust them, but only unknowingly at Gus's approval. Gus is purposely taking a hit in order to play the long game, and considering that Gus is around in Breaking Bad when Lalo isn't, I think we can assume who ends up winning. That being said, Gus is still pissed off about all of this having to allow himself to take such a hit, so he torments his manager from Los Pollos Hermanos instead, Lyle. After they successfully bust the dead drops, Gomez is happy about everything, but Hank knows that he's reached a dead end, so he's disappointed. He still hypes up the troops, but he feels like he knows that he's been had. Gus set up the dead drops in such a way where a few dealers would be arrested, the DEA would get a bunch of money, but they wouldn't be able to continue their investigation up the chain, so to speak. Not to sound like a broken record, but I'll most likely be discussing this whole Ep.504 dead drop situation between Hank, Gomez, Gus, and Lyle in a future discussion video during the off-season, so be on the lookout. Next up, Saul successfully convinces Mr. Acker to be his client by showing him a photo of a man banging a horse.
A man fucking a horse.
Sir, I hate Mesa Verde. I hate them.
He's happy over the success of having Kim needing his help and him actually being able to pull through, and I guess this is where he decides to go and pick out the bowling balls. Again, I'll have to discuss that more in a future video, but just, oh my god, I'll have to say something now as well, because this scene had me at the edge of my seat. I felt anxious as if I'm watching a car crash in slow motion. Well, I am watching a bowling ball crash through a car, but I just couldn't believe Jimmy here. He was acting so immature, and I think that's part of what Bob Odenkirk, his actor, was saying in interviews for season 5 when he said that he looked at the script and thought, oh Jimmy, why can't you just grow up? Why do you actually have to do this? And also poor Howard getting punished over just accidentally poking Jimmy's suppressed and compartmentalized emotions over HHM, the McGill name, and his brother. Howard always thinks that he'll be able to make an amends, but the McGill family has issues with that. Just like how Chuck could never make an amends with Jimmy, Jimmy can now never make an amends with Howard. And this show does an amazing job at really making you first love Jimmy, but then kind of hate him in the end. Everyone involved with this show is originally rooting for Jimmy, the viewers, the show creators and writers and the actors, but as he evolves into Saul, he's going to do things that we don't like. It's inevitable, and we're seeing it happen already. We've been seeing it happen ever since he screwed over that old lady in the previous season. That was really sad, and I'm still kind of upset over that. They're doing a good job at this, and it makes me even more nervous and excited for the final season. Now, the episode ends with Mike getting jumped by the group of guys on the street and then waking up in Mexico. First off, Mike is being self-destructive. He feels like he deserves some sort of punishment for what he's done. Except he got more than he bargained for, because when you get jumped, you don't ever really decide how much you get beat up, and so that one guy pulls out a knife and stabs him, which was a huge moment. Now, we know that Mike survives into Breaking Bad, but it was still shocking. And then about the episode ending with him waking up in Mexico, it was just a great ending in general. Again, this is the type of cliffhanger that I want to see. Leave us in shock, make us want more, and then come back and answer it immediately at the beginning of the next episode. I'll be discussing more of Mike in Mexico in my 505 review, but for now, let me know what you guys thought of episode 504. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything that I've said today, and if you're new here, just haven't yet already, subscribe and hit that bell notification for updates on whenever I post new content on Better Call Saul. I know I'm doing these episode reviews a bit out of order, but I'll get through them all very soon. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out!
You twerps even know who I am? I am Saul Goodman.